Alright, so Loki, I forgot to record, and there's a bunch of changes to the map that I know have to explain. So I'm gonna do that. Also have to be quiet. I won't be very loud. Hopefully this sort of picks up my headphones, but whatever. Um, so France, they expanded big time. Um, Rome it's more expanded to Africa. I think there's some land changes here. There's this country formed. These guys expanded over here. We now have a Caucasia country. Ukraine expanded. These guys expanded up to the Baltic Sea. North Milan revolted. So now we have like a German lowland country. And I think that's it. There's a country here that I think got invaded. Look, I don't remember that one. It's been a while. It's been like a week since I recorded the review. So there's that. Um, but yeah. So I guess we're just gonna hop back in and pick up where I left off with me forgetting to record. Also, I've been making all these videos under the Made for Kids thing on YouTube, but apparently you can't comment when I do that, so I guess I'll have to fix that. But yeah, whatever. Um, First order of business is the expansion of the Caucasia country. They're gonna move. They're gonna move north to east. Yeah, I know directions. Um, but yeah, they're gonna move up here along the Caspian Sea and just kind of expand into this area of land right around here. And we're doing pretty good. They're decently strong. They're like slightly weaker than Ukraine, I imagine. But Ukraine will also be expanding. Not that much, but they are going to make like some decent strides north, taking some more East European land. Which I think modern day Moscow is like up here somewhere. So, or maybe it's far. I don't know actually. We'll be seeing more expansion though from several of these countries, including this purple country, which used to be Hungary but has since fallen on hard times. They're going to expand further north, including over here where they meet up with like the very edge of what's in real life Kaliningrad. So now they have a little bit of coastal access. So they're doing pretty good. I mean, they have all this land, but like all their populations like down here. So eventually it won't be, but for now that is the way it is. Over here, this orange German-ish country is going to start expanding over here up into the Danish peninsula. They'll just take all of it, and they'll even take the island right here. And yeah, they're doing pretty good. The French country will also continue to expand. They'll cross oh my god, they'll cross the English Channel and develop this land in South Britain, England, British Isles. As for Rome, I feel like they've expanded too much into the desert. I feel like it'd be kind of hard to develop this land. And I imagine this isn't super developed. It's basically just a thin line along the coastal area. But that's fine. They'll expand more so over here on the coast, um, down this way, and yeah, yeah, they'll keep expanding. I don't know how stable their colony is long term. It's less so of a colony, but it's more so just part of them. They also discovered these islands over here. Maybe they weren't. I'm gonna read those items. They undiscovered them. Egypt, meanwhile, is gonna be a little more southern expanding here. They're gonna kind of develop all of this land, kind of for themselves. While their neighbor, the Eritrea, is gonna do some big time expanding down the peninsula, reaching like pretty far. They get a lot of land. They're balling. They also discovered this island, which in real life belongs to Yemen. And yeah, they're cooking. They've got a lot of value. As for these guys, the Arabians, they'll continue to expand in what is Persia, so not Arabia. I don't even know what they are. Then they're Mesopotamian. That's yeah. So yeah, they continue expanding on this area, fully getting pretty much dominance over the Gulf of Persia, Persian Gulf. I always say Gulf of Persia. I mean, I think that's technically right, but I don't know. Persian Gulf. They control the Persian Gulf. These guys, meanwhile, like South Caspian Sea, they'll kind of take over some of this land too. It's very like jagged mountains over here, but they persevere, I guess. Keep on keeping on. They'll continue to expand their claims around the Caspian Sea, eventually making their way to this funky peninsula area in West Turkmenistan, and they'll keep expanding up here, eventually stopping around this point and settling down. So they're doing pretty good. They're balling. It's a war over here in Balkans. I forgot for a minute. Um, we're gonna see this yellow country right here. They're about to get jumped by their neighbors, notably these guys, the orange team, Hungary. Well, they're not Hungary. They're like Hungarian-ish. But these guys are just gonna roll in and capture this entire country. There's not gonna be any interference. They're just gonna straight up annex them, which will heighten tensions in the area because these guys don't really like. That's a terrible color. You can't see anything. These guys, they kind of have beef. These guys definitely have beef, I'd imagine. And then these guys have, so it's really just a hate triangle here with these three Eastern European countries. So who knows? Um, well, I guess I do. Um, a war gonna break out, but not yet. Not yet. Anyways, over here in Africa, we have Egypt doing a little more expanding into the desert. Not that it's super valuable, but they'll do it anyway. They're pretty big. But some of these countries are getting a little too big. And it's about time that they start fracturing from their excessive expansion. And the first location where this will happen is over here in Mesopotamia, where a large portion of Arabia will uh, consider itself independent, particularly over here in the desert. A large portion of Arabia basically goes, hey, we don't like being under your control. We would like to be independent. And I mean, it's kind of far away from their main area. They're having trouble controlling all this. And their influence wise definitely losing to these guys. So when these guys say we want to break away, there's not much they can really do. They try to fight back. Maybe they push them back a little bit over here. We do some campaigns against them, but in the end, it's just they're they're forced to give independence to this Arabian country, and for a capital, I don't know where to put it, but I imagine it'd probably be pretty close to these guys, so I'll put it, or it could be like right here. No, actually, I'm gonna put it by the coast, like up here. There we go. So, got a new country here. But that's not all. That's not all, folks. We have over here in over here in I did it again. Caucasia. Um, we're gonna see another big time revolt happening, particularly in East Anatolia, where what was doing? Okay, particularly over here, where we're gonna have a large portion of the population over here desiring independence from the Turks. Now, I thought this was a good color when I chose it, but it's very similar to this, and it's also very similar to that. So I'm gonna have to choose something else. Hold on, give me a second. Like, yeah, but it's kind of similar to the ocean, but whatever. So these guys will break away, and Anatolia's response will be violently pushing back, particularly over here. But in the end, they kind of lose out. They can't. They simply can't hold on. So after securing like most of the valuable land that they were hoping to reclaim, they're just like, you know what? Fine, you can have your independence. Um, whatever. So we have yet another country. I'm gonna put their capital over here where Baku is in Azerbaijan. Actually, I don't like that place. No, I don't like that. If you want to put it like right. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Um. Okay. So another insurrection over here in Rome. They have a lot of land. Rome is like very big at this point. I don't know that they're strong enough per se to hold on to all this land. And I feel like they kind of have to choose between holding on to Iberia or Africa at this point. I think a revolt would happen in Iberia over here in the west side. So let's get like a fun color. There we go. So right over here, it initially starts out as like a pretty secluded thing, and then quickly it kind of just becomes big very fast, and then spills down the coast. And then Rome is like, oh no! So they draw up a treaty with these guys. They're like, listen, we're not even gonna fight. We're not even gonna send soldiers over. We just don't want to collapse. So we're willing to make some territorial concessions, such as these, and this new Iberian country will gladly accept. And voila, another country. Their capital will be, I don't know, I'll put it like right there. Nice. So, a little bit of instability in Rome, but they've, for the most part, been fine. They didn't have much turmoil, I would say. Oh shit, I covered the ocean. Okay. I kind of feel like these countries aren't expanding out fast enough. Like, sure, they've done some decent expansion in the Middle East and definitely in Europe. they've taken over all that. But I feel like there's a whole wide world out here. There's a whole wide world over here. So I feel like I gotta quicken the expansion. So like if we look at this episode, like sure they've moved up a little farther in Russia. They moved a little bit to Europe. They're not the British Isles. But man, it's gonna take forever if I don't hasten their expansion. So we're gonna start a new country over here in. Huh, I'm gonna start it like right. Yeah, I'll start it in like East Persia. This country will be purple. I like that. Kind of like a indigo. This is like violet, and this is indigo. A nice juxtaposition. But these guys will quickly. Also, their population probably just consists of people who were, I don't know, probably people from like all the Middle Eastern areas. So this country, Punt, um, Mesopotamia, Arabia, Egypt, Caspian Persia, Iraq. I don't know. Everybody wants to get in on the good times. So they prance over here to this land along the coast of Persia slash Pakistan. They begin to move, and pretty soon this thing becomes pretty strong, and they keep moving down here, and I mean, they're pretty ripped. They're pretty strong. They're they're quickly becoming one of the fastest growing nations in this silly little world. I would say like as far as like fastest growing, probably like number one, we'll say it's these guys. Number two, we'll say like Mesopotamia. Three, we'll say is like France, and then four is probably like Ukraine, and then five would be Egypt or Punt. I don't know. I don't. Anyways, these guys are balling, but these guys also, these two in particular, are like there's some land over here that these guys might be interested in taking, and they just want to get it before these guys swoop in and cut them off from the great big expanse over here, because I think they know of it, but I don't think they're super like they just can't control it. They can barely control the stones. So Mesopotamia will act first. Wait, what can I? Okay, they'll act first. They'll move into this area and take a little more than a serving size of land over here in Persia, and then the Caspian country, who has maybe better things to do, but they also have a large area to expand. They can do some expanding as long as they're stable enough. So they'll just begin making rapid pushes in the eastward expansion, particularly over here, where they'll just rapid fire take over all this land. They don't have a super good grip on it, but that's fine. Also, I don't like this border. I'm gonna do that. There we go. That looks good. Okay, pretend it was always like that. These guys will just keep on expanding, potentially to their detriment, and then they kind of they'll do a little more expanding up here, I guess. But then they have to stop because they're like on the verge of collapsing from all the expansions and all. It's like they ate too much. They ate too much. Now we're gonna have a special event taking place over here in Greece, Olympia in particular, and that will be a union with them and Albania. These two are going to unite into one country, or Albanians can get into Olympia. Special time, but these guys will be properly integrated into Olympia peacefully and without chaos. So it's not pretty nice. And I said Olympia's the strongest country. Think, I don't know, would that have changed? I think they're still the strongest country. Maybe Rome gives them around for their money, but I think they're still the strongest country. But now it's time for a conflict, a war, a kerfuffle, a skirmish, not a little more than a skirmish. These three countries are going to get into a three-way um, boxing match. They're they're going to fight each other. This brown team down here will be the first to move, trying to move into Hungary. Um, the next to move is these purple guys who move into this country. They're pretty close to the capital, but they are stopped just outside of the city walls. Then immediately after that happens, these guys begin pushing into this purple team's coastal areas, and they do a pretty good job at it. They also make some minor pushes back over here. So now we have chaos in this area, and a few other countries will get involved, um, including Germany, Ukraine, and thrice formerly Thessaloniki, but they lost that to these guys. Um, so yeah, we're gonna see chaos start to unfold. The first to make a external move will be Thessaloniki, who will just start waltzing into this brown team's territory. They'll just walk on in and be like, mine, dibs. So these guys are freaking out, especially once their front in these two countries just kind of folds, and these guys end up taking back all of this. And these guys make a decent push down and take over all this western side of the country. So they're pretty small. They're on the verge of capitulating, but they're actually going to they're going to get bailed out pretty big time when the Slavic country, much improved from their last point of instability, declare war on this purple country and begin moving in. They begin waltz again, and immediately this purple team panics and pulls all their troops out of this southern area and begins lining a wall right here. But what this will do is allow these guys to reclaim some of their land, which, for the record, will pretty much immediately get lost to the red team. They'll push in pretty hard. Um, However, Olympia does not like these guys. They fought them once before. They took Thessaloniki, and now they're here to do even more damage. So now we have the Olympians joining this conflict, and it's about to get nuts. These guys move in fast and quick. Let's say fast and quickly, but those are synonyms. They blitz on through. They take a giant chunk out of them. They obliterate them. They begin pushing into Thrice. In fact, they cut them off from Thrice, but their capital's up here. Actually, if their capital's up here, why do they even call them Thrice? They're just Bulgaria, essentially. But these guys will completely capture the entire area of Thrice, which will kind of create a little bit of tension between the North Anatolians and Olympians, but whatever. These guys will just keep on moving in. And the result of this is this brown team being able to push back and reclaim some of their land over here. They even make a little bit of a push back against this purple team, reclaiming some of their land. Meanwhile, these guys are going to push through and really start to threaten the capital now. But I did say this orange German country is going to get involved, and they begin marching into this area. They completely take over the entire coastline, and then they just begin moving in to this area. While these light purple Hungarian team starts to move in as well and take over a huge chunk of land. In fact, they meet up with the German border, and they're like, "Hello, friend. Thanks for helping us jump these guys." And German's like, "Yeah, yeah, no problem, no problem, no problem." And then Germany starts walking in. They just start blitzing through, and he's just like, "Ah." So they start getting beat pretty bad. And then to make matters worse, Ukraine joins in and is like, "I don't know. I didn't have a funny remark there. I don't have any funny remarks." So they begin blitzing into the east side of the country, taking over not as much land as Germany, but definitely taking a bite out of them, particularly this northern area where they're just kind of trying to secure all the prospective land. They kind of want just all this land because then they can just take over all this and be very large. So they begin moving in pretty fast and pretty viciously. Olympia, meanwhile, will continue their onslaught into this red team. They push in and they begin threatening the capital, concentrating most of their forces around this area. They meet up with the border of Ukraine, but nothing happens. And this brown team down here will continue to push back this land down here, kind of reclaiming some of that. In addition, the brown team will push into their rivals' territory. Well, I guess these guys are a rival too, but different kind of rival. They push in, cut them off from the red team, and just begin moving in. So now they're pretty close to both capitals, but it'll actually be Slavia who captures capital of these guys. And from there, they kind of just capitulate and they take over the whole thing, which leaves these guys, and these guys will very quickly have a chat with basically everybody on their border and be like, "Okay, okay, we're willing to give up land, just don't, let's end this." And so their neighbors are like, "All right, fine, whatever." Um, yeah. So let's get to that then. The treaty. So first is Olympia annexes all this territory. I think they give a little bit back to these guys just because they can't hold on to it super well. So these guys get back all of this. However, they've been pretty badly handicapped. Same with these guys that give up like a little bit of territory here. Yeah, these guys they started over here and now they're over here in Bulgaria. They didn't lose their capital, for the record. They did not ever lose that, but they still got beat pretty bad. As for this area, this brown team's kind of they're not as stable as you'd think. Hungary will get back a little bit of their land in the deal because of the brown team's instability. They're like, we can't hold on to all this, so we have some of it back. As for this orange Slavic team, they also know they can't hold on to all of this, so they're actually going to strike a deal with one of their neighbors, this gold team here, goldish, grayish, more like gray, that they hold on to some of this land over here in the west side of what was this purple team here. And these guys are like, "Oh, thanks a lot." Um, these guys will get back a little bit of land over here and doing pretty good. His capital doesn't look too existing. Oh, I colored it the wrong color. There we go. So, doing good. There's this one pixel. There we go. I kind of don't like this border. It was always like that. As for this continuous treaty with their neighbors, Germany is going to take a piece out of them, and so is Ukraine. In fact, Ukraine's going to demand territory that it annex, and these guys are just going to be like, whatever, just don't keep invading. And these guys are like, all right, sounds great. We only wanted this. And Germany does a little bit of the same. They're like, give us this land. And Hungary's willing to sacrifice a lot not to get repeatedly pummeled by their neighbors. So this will be the ending outcome of this war. Power balance in East Europe definitely consolidated a little more between the big powers. It's like I mean, Germany's here, but like they're not as powerful as you would think. This land isn't as developed as it is in a modern day. The most populated, like powerful, developed lands are like here. Actually, let's do a map of that because that's kind of useful. So I'm gonna do like the most valuable lands are along the Mediterranean. So pretty much all of the southern Greek areas are super well off. Most of West Anatolia is doing all right. The Italian Peninsula has a lot of people. Um, Imagine the areas just north of the Alps are like starting to get there. Imagine there's a lot of people over here in South France where their capital is. Iberia, I don't know how many people are in Iberia. Probably like pretty evenly spread. There's some decent populations along the Algerian, Tunisian coast, and then some over here in like Morocco. I could have just said the whole African coast, I guess. Egypt, a big development along the Nile. I wish I could see it on this map, but I can't. Eritrea, their population is stacked along these coastlines, holding the Red Sea in check, and then these guys have their population all along here, along the water. Basically, just all these guys have massive populations on the coast. And then these guys, I was going to say their population's over here. Oh my god, you can't even see the marker. There's this country's very dark color. I would say that their population's over here, but I think as time progresses, their population moves over here. So it's pretty much just all on Caspian. And then these guys, probably like Iberia, are pretty spread out. But yeah, that's kind of how you see some of the population uh, areas looking. But anyways, that's going to do it for today's episode. It's been a minute, so I had to get another episode out, but hopefully this is good, and hopefully I'm not too quiet. In fact, I hope my microphone and headphones picked up like any of this. So yeah,